टाइम भी बचाना है बट पॉडकास्ट से सीखना भी है. आप सही चैनल पर आ चुके हो. वेलकम टू TRS Clips. You know what it was? It was like, so I love my dad and have a great relationship with him at this stage, but for a long time I didn't. And I think that element of having an adversary at home became a personality trait.
Yeah.
And then I was seeking that out. Initially in school, it was like students I didn't like, very few, because I was a popular kid and most people liked me. But those very few became my sworn enemies. Then once career started, it became like industries.
Yeah.
Or the old school marketing industry.
Here's what people don't understand. So you think your hostility is a problem. It's not a problem. It's actually a solution. Everything that you struggle with in life is not a problem. It's a solution. It's a solution to a different problem. So just like you said, so if you think about it, look at where you are now, Ranveer. If you had not been hostile, if you had not been adversarial, where would your motivation come from?
That's true.
Right? So what a lot of people don't realize, and this is what's so tricky about sort of meditation and spirituality, is that you're going to be getting rid of a lot of fuel of your life. If you meditate too much, you're going to become a hermit.
But you know, what people don't say here is that it takes years for this to happen.
Well, it takes years for it to happen, sure, hopefully. But the other thing is that I think what a lot of people don't say is that just because you get rid of your adversarial motivation doesn't mean that you won't have other motivations.
Yeah.
So what I tend to find, so when I work with people, I use this concept of toxic fuel. So I work with a lot of very successful people, like billionaires and CEOs and content creators and stuff, right? And so these people are driven by needing to be the best. And the problem with that is that even when you succeed, like I want to be number one, gives you so much motivation. How do you think they feel when they become number one? What do you think?
Empty.
If only they were so lucky. What they feel is terrified. Because now that I'm number one, do you get to relax, Ranveer? If you're the top content creator on the internet, what are you going to be afraid of? What do you think?
Heavy is the head that bears the crown.
Absolutely. And now you're afraid about number two. I'm number one right now, but if I don't keep up, someone's going to pass me. The terrifying thing about striving to be number one is that you will only be there temporarily. It's got a life sentence of its own. It's going to end. Someone will always be better than you.
You need to find non-transient motivations.
Yes. Right? So I would even say that if you want contentment, you need to get rid of transient contentment. So any contentment that is circumstantial based on a circumstance. I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. Dangerous setting for happiness. Because if you get divorced, then you're no longer happy. So we go on chasing all these things that we think will make us happy, when really what happens is like, you know, once you have a kid, everyone's like, oh, having a kid is great. I didn't know what the feeling of love was until I had a child. What they don't tell you is I didn't understand what fear was until I had a child. I fear on a level that I have never been afraid of.
Wow.
Right?
What's a non-transient motivation then?
Great. So there is no such thing as a non-transient motivation. Okay? So let's understand this. Motivation by its nature is transient. It's temporary. It's a fluctuation. So this is where a lot of people are worried because they're like, you know, if I get rid of my motivation, if I get rid of my insecurity, then I won't be motivated. Are bapre. Right? So they don't want to get rid of their insecurity. This is what's really crazy when I work with a lot of people and we get really down to it. Do you want to get rid of your addiction? No. Most people get attached to their motivation and they try to keep it going because in the absence of their motivation, they'll be completely neutral, right? They'll be complacent. So a lot of the work that we do is, or I do, is I try to help people get rid of those motivations and learn to be complacent and content with yourself, right? Because if you're content with yourself, Ranveer, why would you do anything?
Yeah.
And then here's the really cool thing that people don't tell you. Here's the other part of the equation, is once you become content, you don't stop working. You become a lot more responsive to your environment in a really healthy way.
Yeah.
So now I'm not living for myself, but all kinds of stuff is going to excite me. I'll get triggered into motivation in a good way.
Yeah, dude, sorry I'm interrupting you, man, because this is things I've experienced this year as well.
Yeah.
Saw this form of ego death with everything that happened. And my priority now is what I define as staying in rhythm.
Great.
Like, I feel like I've played sports in my life.
Yeah.
It takes 3 or 4 games to get your body into rhythm and for your body to do what your mind is telling it to do or what your mind is visualizing. Like, every time you kick a ball, it's not going to land at the feet of your teammate.
So this is brilliant. So here's the reason why. So if you think about staying in rhythm, beautiful. What happens if you're working too much?
You get out of rhythm. You're not able to stay in
Good.
there.
So if you're working too much, how do you stay in rhythm? If you're moving too fast, what do you have to do?
For me, I'm just answering this from a very personal perspective, but it's a lot about physical health.
Okay.
Sleeping on time, working out on time.
So the way you stay, if you're moving too fast, you stay in rhythm by slowing down.
Yeah.
If you're too sluggish, you stay in rhythm by speeding up.
Yes.
This is beautiful.
Yes.
Right? So this is the kind of thing that I think really works for people that they don't understand. It's not about being number one. It's about staying in rhythm, maintaining that peace. I love that.
Yeah.
Because
on a very practical level, it's like taking one day at a time and doing your best on that one day.
Great.
But through a physically healthy body and mind.
Great. Right? So I think that's what people don't understand is that this way may not increase your subscriber count as much as horrible insecurity will, but your life will be a lot happier. And it's not like you're lazy, right? I think over time, what people will discover is that when they work really hard to like stay motivated and try to be number one, they end up in an unhappy place. And the most reliable way to become incredibly successful is to let go of success. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Detached work.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So, when I was in residency, I used to work about 80 hours a week. You're working overnight in the hospital and things like that. And it's like, you have to do this work. And then everyone says, okay, residency is the hardest you'll ever work in your life. And I used to read a lot and see a lot of patients and things like that. And once you're done with residency, then you can relax. The interesting thing is I used to complain about working 6 days a week. Now I work 7 willingly. So it's really interesting, but once you start to figure out what your rhythm is, once you start to work, it's not even motivation, it's kind of what I feel like, right? So I'll have a different motivation on a different day. Yeah. They come and go.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of better understanding, you and me are calling it rhythm, and I know we're looking at the same concept and we're understanding it. For the average person who's still not understood what rhythm means, it's kind of like where your work feels like play.
Yes.
But to hit that point of rhythm, you need some technical prowess.
100%.
Study, coaching, experience, then you can talk about rhythm.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so I think this is what's really cool is we can scientifically break apart what are the elements. So I'll give you one example of something that I try to really do that I think you do as well. And I think people who figure out how to work 7 days a week and like working 7 days a week figure out this stuff. So step number 1 is whatever you do on a day, you should be able to recover from and wake up the next morning fresh.
Yeah.
This is huge. So the biggest problem that I see, worst invention in the history of humanity is the weekend. Because it presumes we're going to work you like a dog for 5 days and then you can rest. You can recover on the weekend. But the moment we created the weekend, we created an unsustainable work rate, right? If I need a vacation, the whole point is to structure a life where you never need a vacation. Now that seems hard, so there are other elements to it. Then there are a couple of other things, right? So I always try to work, and this is where I think things like physical health, meditative practice, things like that, the way that you eat, right? So what I try to do is really focus on when I wake up the next morning, I should have a full battery of energy. And I want to be really careful about really emptying that to the point that I can't recover. I should be able to recover overnight. So sometimes, and then, so we were talking about this earlier, but sometimes that's not really practical. So then what I do is I schedule rest days during the week. It's not a vacation day. It's a day designed for rest, right? So if I'm doing too much over 3 days, then I'm going to schedule a rest day and I'm going to recover so that the day after that, I'm back to square one.
Yeah.
Second thing that is really helpful is removal of ego. So once you remove ego, a lot of the stuff that makes things unsustainable goes with it. So if you sort of think about why do you work to the point of exhaustion? A lot of people will say it's because I have to. That can be sometimes true, But a lot of times it's because you want yourself to be something. I want to be able to retire. I want to be able to relax. So I'm not going to relax.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to sacrifice. It's so interesting. People will say, so I basically wasted a good chunk of my 20s. I started medical school at 28, finished medical school at 32, finished residency at 36. I was done with my education at the age of 36. People say that's so late. I had a friend who went into an accelerated medical program, started med school at 17. Okay? And what I think about it now is they can retire 10 years earlier than I can, for sure. Maybe even 12, 15. But I would rather mess around in my 20s and have a good time and work 10 years later than sacrifice my 20s and retire 10 years earlier at 55. Right? So we have all of these weird...
It's all societal conditioning.
Absolutely.
Thank you for consuming this clip, दोस्तों. अगर ऐसे ही और clips explore करने हैं तो इस channel के playlists को ज़रूर explore करना.